Let's stay at City Hall because that is where the city is now providing an update on its approach to dealing with homeless encampments. Councillor Alejandra Bravo speaking now. Let's listen.
A growing number of people in our city are struggling to find shelter and food and housing, and this is compounded by a lack of mental health care, which only makes people who are already vulnerable more vulnerable. The City of Toronto has committed to progressively realizing the right to housing, and therefore has an obligation to treat people living in encampments with compassion and care. While there's no easy solution, providing real pathways to shelter and housing works, and meeting people's needs has already shown some positive results in our city. I'm happy to see this report come forward. It details the significant shifts we are already making away from enforcement and clearing, which only moves people from one place to the next and does not work as an approach to encampments. While there's significant public pressure to remove encampments, especially from parks, safety is the condition for removal, and people need to know why and how it's going to happen. The city's updated approach and protocols to encampments is a crucial step in making good on our commitment to progressively realizing the right to housing as a human right, and it's a key response to the Ombudsman's report. Getting this work right involves deep and ongoing engagement with those living in or having lived in encampments, as well as the people who serve them and know their needs very well. Core to the approach is providing transparent and a coordinated process to guide city staff in their work, and that means exhausting tools to connect people to indoor spaces, providing enhanced and flexible service models to respond to people's needs, and safety and shelter, safety in the shelter system. Mayor Chow and I have written to Economic and Community Development Committee with a motion to direct city staff to develop and implement key actions to increase access to safe, secure housing and shelter for people who are living outdoors, and respond to the unique housing needs of shelter seekers. And I particularly want to highlight our recommendation for a pilot program of enhanced multi-sectoral case management, support for people living outdoors, those people who have complex mental and physical health needs, and that this work be done in partnership with community serving agencies and healthcare experts. And second, we are making the request of the Government of Ontario to immediately allocate $54 million to the City of Toronto for the Year 5 administration of the Canada-Ontario Housing Benefit Program to meet demand and continue to support transitions for people living outdoors and in our shelter system to permanent housing. This is a problem for governments across the country to face the crisis of people not having a home. And for Toronto, this is another step that builds on the shelter safety study, will include an assessment of needs this fall, followed by a shelter safety plan and the first shelter capital plan for the City of Toronto. It's an urgency, of course, that's joined by the commitment of this mayor and this council to build more affordable housing. And with that, I'll pass it on to Gord Tanner.
Well, thank you very much, Councillor Bravo, and good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us today to hear about how the City of Toronto is enhancing and evolving its approach to encampments and supports for those experiencing homelessness. Let me start by recognizing, the hard work and compassionate work that happens every day on the streets of this city by our outreach workers, healthcare workers, nurses, volunteers, folks that go into public spaces and connect with people who are living absolutely homeless and support them to get connected to the essential supports and help that they need. So as we at the City of Toronto work to connect those to housing that they deserve, the work of these folks is critical, and we thank them for that. Encampments are a symptom of the housing affordability crisis, shelter demand that exceeds availability, and other social challenges such as the mental health crisis and drug toxicity crisis. Toronto continues to see unprecedented pressure on an emergency shelter system due to inflated costs of living, insufficient affordable and rent-geared income housing, inadequate income supports, and an increase in the number of refugee claimants arriving in the city. We're working to address each of these issues, but in the meantime, we know people continue to be at risk. In April of this past month, we had an average every day of 225 people that called us at our central intake phone service that were unable to get matched to a bed by the end of the day. As of May 5th, there were 256 encampments at 131 city-owned properties in Toronto. But this work is about people. That's why we've evolved our strategic approach to encampments. Everyone deserves a safe, affordable place to call home. And this report and the accompanying protocols are just one piece of the measures we're taking to offer certainty, help, and dignity to people experiencing homelessness and surrounding communities. As the weather warms, we often see an increase in the number of encampments in the city, and that's true again this season. This report provides a timely and much-needed update on the work we are doing to help. The nature of these challenges are changing, and we need to be changing with them. We're presenting a housing-first, human rights-based approach to support people to access indoor spaces while also addressing the needs of the broader community. There are several key pillars to this approach. The first is expanding the enhanced, focused, housing-focused outreach and support model to other encampments. It's exploring new service models for people that are living outdoors. It's about enhancing safety in our shelter system, both for our staff and our clients. And finally, it must be about increasing housing opportunities and shelter system flow. We know great success comes from...
Hearing from officials at City Hall, the City of Toronto says it is evolving its approach to homeless encampments. This after it faced a lot of pushback from advocates for clearing camps with Toronto's shelter system running at capacity. So the city now says it will explore new models to help people on the streets and increase permanent housing opportunities. It will also work to make shelters safer.